the next 15 to 20 minutes, I invite you to take a deep breath and to focus on the story that I'm about to tell you. When Pam reached out to me, and I heard that I'd also be part of a fatherhood male engagement talk, I thought it'd be perfect time to talk about my hero to you and you as educators, directors, service providers, to give you a greater understanding of how important, and I'm not going to use the word dad, how important male engagement, a man, is in a child's life. Amen. When I do this talk, I always start by introducing myself to you. This is part stand-up, part reality, part what I've been through, part my parents' story. So this is how I introduce myself to everyone. I am the proud product, number 11 in my family, of a Lebanese dad and a Haitian mom. So here's how I get started. Anyone here in the audience of Arab or Lebanese descent? No? Yes? Kifa Habibi. All right, so this is my dad's introduction. My dad talked to all of us the same way. If you live the life by the F, life will be fantastic. And I'm like, Dad, we're in America now. He's up. That's a bad word. He goes, no, silly. The very first part of everything you do is faith. Faith in God, faith in your ability, faith in the people you allow to be around you. I'm like, all right, that's cool, Dad. That makes sense. The very next F is family. Every decision you make in your life, you put your family first. Every decision. That makes sense, Dad. That's good. And the very last F, son, is the very special people that God put in your life, but we call them friends. You know who the very good friends are. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that makes sense. So, I have a son. Noah's 21, 6'5", 250. We love sports. And I've added 2 more Fs. Food and football. So we're big Dolphin fans, so there's been a lot more food than football lately, but they're going to get it right, I know. So my introduction about my mom, because I was blessed to grow up in a nuclear family. Doesn't mean that's the gold standard. All right? Mom, dad, foster mom, foster dad, gay, lesbian couple, that's family. We accept and show them love at our centers and our schools, right? So my mom's introduction. Anyone here from Haiti or Haitian descent? All right. So my mom's introduction as to who I am as a man right now was simple. My mom was the bad cop in the family. My mom would tell me, and by the way, I had the unfortunate circumstance of living across the street from North Miami Elementary School, where I went to school. So if anything happened, she knew right away. Forget cell phone. But my mom's line was, Haitians in the audience, I'm cueing my mom. Joe, let me tell you something, Joe. If the school ever called me, if the school ever called me, you're going to get the 2 B. The Bible or the bed. Relax, nothing bad's going to happen. And then she would follow it up. But let me tell you something. If the police, oh God forbid, the police ever come to my door, yes, Mom, you're going to get the 3rd B. And my mom was Esau, so I'm like, 3rd B? And then she would go, yes, the 3rd B. Both the Bible and the bed at the same time. So that's my introduction to my mom and my dad. And that's, honestly, I was so blessed. That's who made me who I am today. And I'm not speaking on behalf of the Early Childhood Coalition, Early Learning. I'm not speaking on behalf of Miami Public Schools, but we could all agree. There are some kids who need their Bible in their belt every day. Again, I'm not speaking for these organizations, There's some planet that read the Bible that we did too. And I'm a former teacher, by the way. But that's the reality. All right. So to talk about my dad was there at my North Miami Elementary School on the first day of kindergarten when I was 5 years old, dropping me off. And my mom said, Gerard, you better not cry. And we went home. I didn't start kindergarten at 5 because he was afraid of leaving me at school. So next year, I'm 6 years old. I turned 6 in May. And I'm like, I'm ready for school, Dad. I'm tired of watching TV. I started kindergarten. My dad was there, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade was cool. It was my first male teacher, Mr. Cox at North Miami Elementary School. They bonded right away. My dad was there every single Wednesday, pushing the library books to keep an eye on me and make sure I was cool. And my dad's line every school year, at the beginning of the school year, here's my $5. Give me the pita. And I'm like, what? It wasn't until later my mom told me, goes, just take the money and give them. I go, Mom, what's the pita? The PTA card. The PTA card. Because back then, we didn't have all this fingerprinting and everything. It was based on trust. You registered, you gave your driver's license, and you were in school. And my dad would be there pushing the carts, picking up after lunch just to make sure I ate. And all these years, North Miami Junior High School. And I'm so happy we're here at Edison. Here's why. I played basketball in high school. The very first varsity game I ever played was here at Edison Senior High School. My dad was there. And I'll never forget, I got in the game, late in the game, meaningless game, and I hit a three-point shot. And before I could look at my dad for acknowledgement, my dad yelled, "One!" And I'm like, it happened here. Now I'm going to fast forward. 2009, 2010, my wife tells me about this amazing platform called Facebook. Baby, you got to get on Facebook. Everyone's on Facebook. I'm like, not everyone. I'm not on Facebook. I get on Facebook and something magical happened that changed my life. I start getting friend requests from people from elementary school, junior high school, senior high school. And all the messages were the same. Joe, so great to see you here on Facebook. Oh my God, you're married, you have kids? Wow, me too. How's your dad? Every single message. Focus on that. That impact that a man has just being present. Now, we're not going deep into being emotionally present, which is important, not just physically present. So then the tough part for me was replying to everyone and saying, so great to see you here too. Yeah, married, 2 kids, Noah and Emily. Oh my God, they're amazing. Unfortunately, my dad died in 1997 of cancer. And this is where my impact in Noah and Emily's life showed up. Because by that time, I already did what my dad did. Volunteer, kindergarten, second, third, fourth, everywhere. Replying back saying, I'm so happy you remember my dad. We graduated from high school in 1993. My father passed away in 1997. And to get back stories from everyone saying, man, I remember first grade, your dad used to do this trick where he pulled candy out of our ears on Wednesdays. And he'd ask the teacher which kid deserved the candy, and he pulled it out. And guess what, Joe? Like John said on Facebook, I do that to my kids today because of your dad. Andrea. Joe, you know there's one time in 5th grade, Mr. Chapman's class, man, I was getting bullied and picked on all the time. And your dad pulled the kids aside and told them, stop it. That was amazing. So I had a deep understanding of, man, all these years I thought my dad was there for me. But his impact, his influence, he was there for everyone. There's something my dad did. He would drop me off, right? I'm the youngest of 11. My dad was well into his 60s when I was in high school. People would ask me jokes. Man, your grandfather's tall like you. No, that's my dad, man. My dad had this thing that he did. He dropped me off in front of North Miami Senior High School. Back when it was on the other side of 135th, it was the pink building. Yeah. And I get out, and every morning, Lord, beep, beep. Habibi, have a great day. Do wonderful things. Come here, come here. And something happened in the 10th grade. I was too cool for them. I discovered something. Girl. Hey. So I told them, Dad, you don't have to drop me off in front of the school. Please, just drop me off on 135th and 7th. I got these right here. I'm walking. I'm like, what's up? Yo, last night, yeah, I had 28 points, I think. Yeah, what's up? And then my dad's at 5 miles an hour next to me. Hurry up, they could kidnap you. Who's gonna kidnap me? Now focus on your lives. If your dad is still with you, you're blessed. You have a grandparent, mom, grandmother, etc. You're blessed. If I knew my father would be dead 4 years after I graduated from high school, I would have let that man walk me to homeroom, hand in hand, and I'd be like, go ahead, say it. Have a great day, Habibi, make great things. Take advantage of those opportunities. You don't know when they're going to end. Fast forward now. 5 minutes to go. Fast forward now. My son Noah, who's about 6 foot tall in middle school, I gave my dad until the 10th grade. This fool is in the 7th grade and he says to me, Dad, you don't have to drop me off in front of the school. You don't have to yell, you love me. I know you love me. Drop me off right here. I got legs, I gotta walk. I'm like, for that moment, I felt what my father felt. And it hurt. And I had to pull over a block away from Shenandoah Middle School and let Noah out the car. And here's this kid who didn't really need me anymore, so he thought, and he's like, bud, don't say anything. And I lowered the window, and I panicked, because my little boy was growing into the man that I wanted him to be, but that was too early. Give me 3 more years. And I honked, and he turned around. No, I love you, man, but hurry up. They could kidnap you. And he looked at me at 6 foot, 14 years old. I'm a big guy. But here's why I say that. Cherish those moments, too. Now I'm going to fast forward. My father passed away with cancer in 1997. I miss him until today. Fortunately, my mother passed away in 2009 of cancer. I miss her today. Now I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to do this really fast in 5 minutes. I need you to listen to what's really important. Not just at your centers, but in your personal lives and under that roof that you share with whomever you share every day. I'm going to fast forward. May of 2021, I got the worst news I could get in my life. I was told I had a year to live. I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. 6 months of chemotherapy, radiation, 5 surgeries, right? And you know what I started to realize? You all need to realize this also. Then I started getting messages from my kids' friends. Because I was blessed to still be here. Not like my dad where I got him on Facebook, right? And the messages were simple. Text messages are just coming by the house. Full COVID and all, and I'm like, stand on the sidewalk. I can see you. Mr. Jabara, how are you feeling? I remember when you volunteered at Riverside Elementary School. And I'm like, I had that kind of impact on you? Yeah. And your guy had that same impact on everyone else. Kids taking my kids out to lunch to check on them. Calling me after chemo. Hey, Mr. G, I don't want to bother you. I saw you in a wheelchair. Are you okay? That's the impact that we all have every single day. Lead by example. Cherish those special moments. They do not last forever. What does last forever are those positive moments and the bridges that we built at all times that now today, I could tell you, I remember my dad in kindergarten taking candy out of kids' ears. Because that's a memory that's profound and has meaning to me. Now, my last minute here, I'm going to tell you something, because I always end my presentations on a high note, whether I'm talking about what I've been through for the past 2 years, or goals, or family. I like ending on a positive note. I will tell you, May 2021, when my wife and I were told, there's nothing we can do. You've got about a year to live. And I have a genetic predisposition. My sister 5 years ago was diagnosed and died 92 days later. My mom, colon cancer. 2 aunts, uncle. I knew the reality. And I will tell you this, both with the kids that you teach and your very own. That car doesn't matter. The pleasing them and going like this doesn't matter. You know what matters when we sat down with our kids? Man, Dad, you remember that one time you did this? Do you remember that one time at dinner we did this? Do you remember that Monopoly night where this happened? Those are the things that matter in life. And I'm going to end by simply saying, enjoy every moment. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Ogden Dino, one of my favorite authors, says, tomorrow is only found in the calendar of fools. Make the most of today. And the high note I want to leave you at is, May 2021, I'm diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic cancer. And I'm always weary when I bring God into the picture, but I'm not here to convert anybody. It's just me talking. I was very blessed. I found the right oncologist, the right institution, the right place. And today, 5 surgeries later, I'm cancer-free. I am blessed that I could stand here before you today and say these things, but I'd be even more blessed if you truly take these things that I just said, go home, hug your kids, your husband, your wife, your partner. Because if things are great at home, they're going to be that much greater in your heart, at your centers, and when you help these kids truly become our future. Thank you again. God bless always. Have a great day.
Amen indeed. Through the eyes of a father, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Molly McGowan is the Director of Programs for Families and Schools Together. Family and Schools Together partners with community-based organizations and schools across the U.S. and internationally to implement evidence-based family engagement programs. Molly, the stage is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, for the opportunity to speak with you today, and for all the work that you do in your communities. Muchas gracias por estar aquí, por la oportunidad de hablar con ustedes hoy, y por todo el trabajo que hacen en sus comunidades. So I want to start by painting a picture, and I'd like your help to do it. So when you think of community, which I know is one of our themes today, and we've been talking a lot about it, what do you think of? What does community look like or feel like to you? Feel free to shout out ideas. Thoughts? Families, yes. Different types of families, yes. Helping each other, absolutely. Yes. Being a part of a team, yeah, absolutely. What was that? Funnily? Yes, awesome, yes. I love it, thank you. So, yes, yes. Being helpful, and I think you said family, didn't you? Family, yes, being helpful in family. So thank you so much. So yes, it's that sense of having people look out for you, of somebody to talk to, somebody to cry with, somebody to spend time with. It's seeing people that you know on the street, talking to neighbors on their porch, having birthday and holiday celebrations with family and friends and neighbors. We know when we have a community and when we don't. We know that when we are only in a community and when we are actually a part of a community. And without that sense of community, we are really losing out on that village, on that opportunity to be together, to work with one another. And even though it's really a part of human nature to be around other people and to be in that community, sometimes it can be hard to see how to get there. Sometimes we can find ourselves isolated. And so if I don't have a community, how can I build one? So I'm going to talk with you today. I have a little bit of notes here. Keep me on track. I'm going to talk to you today about a program that can do just that. It's called the FAST program. And FAST stands for Families and Schools Together. And the program has been around for over 30 years. We've run all around the US in over 20 countries. And actually locally in Miami, we partner with Jewish Community Services that runs a couple of our FAST programs here in the city. And so we typically partner directly with schools, organizations, early childhood centers that support primarily families living in poverty and also Black, Indigenous, and people of color. FAST has particular elements that I'm going to talk about today that in combination make it so special. So it is evidence-based. It is led actually by parents and community members. It is customizable to a particular community, and it is a tool that families can use to build that community that we talked about at the beginning. So I want to start by talking about a psychologist, Urie Bronfenbrenner, who has a theory that's called the ecological systems theory. Some of you may have heard of him, and I don't want to get too into the weeds, but his theory is essentially this: that all children are part of different systems. So that would be family, school, peers, neighborhood. And a child has an impact on all of these different systems. And all of these systems have an impact on a child and on each other. And so they're all interacting. And so as we're trying to reach or impact or support a child, if we ignore all these other systems of which a child is a part, we miss a really big opportunity. The FAST program is designed to actually acknowledge and incorporate all those different systems of which a child is a part. So children, their whole family, school staff, and community partners are all involved in the program. They're all bringing something to the table and receiving something in return. There's a big emphasis on empowerment, the idea of building up that power and autonomy for parents. And crucially, the program is designed to be adaptable. So up to 60% of the program can be customized to the particular needs, wants, strengths, and culture of a community. The program is not prescriptive. It is not one size fits all. And it's not me as a white woman up here saying this is how your program is going to look. So how exactly does FAST unite all those systems that we were talking about? So that happens primarily through the FAST team. Each program is facilitated by a FAST team that is unique to that community. And it's made up of local parents, school staff, mental health, and other community partners. The team is representative of families served across race, ethnicity, language spoken, and any other identity that's relevant to the community. And crucially, it's the parents on the team that lead this work. As the representatives of the families participating, they are the experts. And in fact, there is a lot of work done during program training, which is led by our FAST trainers, to address and kind of rectify some of those power imbalances that can come up. So the team is then working together as that collaborative group as they guide families through the program and through activities. And sometimes this might be the first time that a group like that of parent representatives, school representatives, and community professionals have actually worked together as a team. So instead of operating kind of families doing this, schools doing this, communities, partners doing this, It actively engages all those folks at the table together to work with families. Okay, so what the program actually looks like, what is actually happening. So for 8 weeks, the team facilitates weekly meetings with a group of about 10 to 15 families. So the team not only helps guide families through those activities, but is also providing that support to participating families. We talked earlier about building that trust and how crucial that trust is to really moving any work forward. And so ultimately that is the goal of those team members, is to build that trust with families so that by the end, families really see team members as people who they can trust and who they can go to. In the program, the whole family is invited to attend. So kids, parents, grandparents, anybody the family wants to include. And each night includes 3 main sections. So the first is time spent as a family, eating a meal together, playing games together, talking openly, spending time with one another. There's also peer group time. So kids and parents are separated. Kids have an opportunity to play with other kids, frequently with kids that they might not otherwise interact with. And then parents too have that time to get to know and form friendships with one another. So when parents are in this parent group, it's time spent talking about whatever they want to talk about. Parents set that agenda. So it's not a lecture, there's no instruction, it's really parents coming to the table to talk about whatever's going on in their life, at the school, at the community. And then lastly, there's one-on-one parent and child time. So this is really an opportunity for parents to have time carved out of their very busy schedules to give that one-on-one time to their kids. 15 minutes, uninterrupted, the child is leading that engagement. Additionally, the program provides meals, avoiding the need to cook one night a week, and there's no need for childcare as all children are invited. So it's really about kind of thinking about what are the ways that as schools we can help to encourage this engagement with families. So for families that come at least once to the program, we see an 80% graduation rate. At the end of the program is a graduation that is planned by parents. These have become wonderful emotional celebrations of their time together, of the family's commitment to themselves and to each other, of their commitment to building that community amongst one another. Team members present parents with handwritten personal affirmations. Some groups plan a big party, go all out. I've seen groups that get caps and gowns even. They really have a lot of fun with it. So what do we see as a result of the program? And this is ultimately why all of our teams and our trainers are doing this work. Families report better relationships with their families. We've heard, my child is happier. My child has more friends. They talk with me more, and they enjoy school more. We've heard, this program saved my marriage. One family approached a team member and said that at the beginning of the program, they had been thinking that they were going to have to get divorced. But the program gave them the space and the structure and the framework to start having those open communications to keep their marriage intact. Families, many, many years later, are still in contact with families that they met in the program. So they've really had an opportunity for, even beyond the program, to bring those friendships with them so that they can persist. And we know that studies have shown that in schools where parents know their children's friends and their families, students do better and feel happier and safer in the school. So over time in a community, the network of families who have participated just grows. Our partners in Brazil held a picnic for fast families, and over 2,000 families came together as a community. Teachers report that they have gotten to know families better and recognize and value the parents for the partners they are. And what's more, even though children are at the center of this program, because we are recognizing and including all of those systems of which a child is a part, that means positive outcomes for parents as well. Parents start volunteering in the school. They feel welcome and a sense of belonging in the school. Parents become part of that FAST team and even go on to become FAST trainers. And we've seen parents empowered through the program go back to school to further their own education because they have that confidence and support and network needed to achieve that for themselves. At FAST, our number one value is that all parents love their children and want a better life for them. But sometimes circumstances are such that we aren't able to be the best parents we want to be. FAST can be an opportunity to get to that place, to increase that family connection, to have support from other families, to build relationships within the school and be connected to resources, for families to build that community with and for one another. Helping families find this network as they manage parenting and work and life is crucial to future success. We can prove it anecdotally and in the research we've collected. And over time, we've updated FAST as a modern best practice tool to create such communities of families, strongly connected to one another, supporting one another across the world so that we can see all of our children thrive. Thank you very much for your time.
My apologies. So Molly and Nicole came to us all the way from Wisconsin, but as they mentioned, you can find the FAST program right here in Miami. Website, if folks want to Google you and learn more about you and reach out?
familiesandschools.org, or we have a table.
Okay, there's a table downstairs, so do pick up some information. Osmani Gonzalez wants you to know that I am a Cuban American, happily married to my wife Aleda for 22 years and counting. We have raised 2 young adult children, ages 16 and 18. Together, Aleda and I have fostered 24 children during our service at his house, Children's Home, and that's a foster home. I'm currently the Miami-Dade Area Director of the Dad's Club, with Father and Family Council and Miami-Dade Council, and Male Involvement Chair for Dade County Council PTA. As a former PTA president at my children's elementary school, I understand the necessity of leadership in young children's lives. Give it up for Osmani Gonzalez.
It's so awesome to be here. As I listen to all of you, I was taking notes as you know, as he was playing his music, as Joe was talking, and as Shirley was talking about some of her points. And it's just really about being engaged, you know, in their lives. The idea is really just to be engaged. You know, I was thinking, like, you know, who's the audience? Or like, who's going to listen to? What we do is we go to schools and we have the opportunity to do presentations to the parents and the children. And one of my favorite parts of that is we get to ask the dad, okay, so we go to a little presentation and we ask the father, I'm proud of you because, and we leave it on the screen and we give them a few minutes to talk about that, right? So some dads have never told their children, hey, I love you, hey, I'm excited about you. So in the voice, right? How they get nervous because it's so fun. It really, really is fun. So they get, you know, I give them a couple of minutes to talk about it, and then we flip it, and then we ask the children what's their favorite thing that they've done with their dad. Okay, now think about this. So now so we give them a couple of minutes, and then once they finish talking, I ask about 3 dads to come up, and there's where the magic starts. Because what we're always talking about is we want to build that community of dads. When another dad hears a dad say, hey, you know, I'm proud of you because you did so good at school this week. I know that you were struggling. Or, hey, you really changed my life because some of the dads sometimes are like, hey, my daughter has made me become a better dad because of the things that she makes me speak soft. So all these little examples are just amazing things. So this is some of the things that we talk about when we go to the schools, we go to community centers, right? We want a positive male role model in their school. Does that make sense? So what we want, sometimes dad is not there. Unfortunately, that's our number one option. Our number one option is that dad is there. But if dad's not there, you know, can a grandfather be the one that can come in? So we do a little poll as we're talking sometimes, and you know, we go, okay, so you know, how many dads are here? And you'll get, you know, most of the dads. Okay, how many grandparents? And you always get 3, 4, 5, depending on the group. And I just make sure that everybody claps at that moment because I want them to feel that what they did was super important. To show up a brother, right? Sometimes we have brothers that mom and dad, you know, can't show up the grandpa, and it's an older brother. Sometimes it's a neighbor. But the whole bottom line is that it's very, very important that there is a male role model in that child's life. Sometimes we go to the schools and I'll try to invite a mom, like I'll stand at the door, as they're dropping off their kids, and I want to encourage them, right? So one of the things we gotta put the work. It doesn't happen, and obviously I'm listening to it, right? Our job is a little bit difficult, right? We're working with families. It's not always perfect. So we stand there in the line and we talk to them. And I've had moms say, hey, I don't have a dad, there's no dad in my house. I am the dad. And what I see is I see her. Really, really what I see is her. Now I gotta pause and I go, okay, so what happened, right? How was she treated growing up? Did she have a dad? Was the dad present? So those are the things that we have to kind of step back before you lash out. You really want to say, okay, what's the problem? So what I tell them, I say, look, I understand what you're saying. I completely understand you're saying that's not there, whatever the reason is. I understand that. But do you really think that child deserves to have a positive male role model in his life? And when I get to her heart, they really soften up. Now it's a whole different conversation. And now one of the things that we do, can I give them the secret? Yeah. So we do what we call a princess tea. And the princess tea, what we do, especially in schools that the dads don't show up as much, what we do is it's called a princess tea. We invite all the moms, and we have the moms endorse a male role model. And it changes the whole dynamic, because it's not the same if, let's say, Johnny doesn't have a father at home, but we put a teacher. Yeah, that's good. That's a great job. But there's not that much connection made, especially if he doesn't know it. But if if the mom can say, hey, yes, my brother loved, he has a great, great relationship. Now, we bring him, the brother, we give him a breakfast. So we do a thing for the mom first. We do what's called a princess tea for the mom first. And what that happens is we ask for endorsement, right? From the mom to someone that they suggest. And it really, really changes the dynamic. One of the things that Pamela had asked me to talk about is, when we go to schools, we have to make sure that we make our dads feel comfortable. We have to make sure. So for whatever the reason is, right? Sometimes as parents, as dads, and she asked me to talk about this. I went to a school, I want to change my daughter from where she's at right now to a little bit closer home. And I go to the school, I'm well-dressed, my daughter's well-dressed, and I'm talking to the person in line, I'm waiting, so it's my turn, and hey, how are you? I would love to see your school. And as I'm talking, she's doing this. And I'm in shock. I'm like, she's not even listening to me, But this is something that we have to be intentional. We really have to be intentional about how we bring our dads here. Remember, like they said earlier, sometimes our culture, wherever it happened along the way, we think that mom takes care of everything. Somewhere along the line, we just say, you know what, mom takes care of the homework, she does everything with the dad. But then as dads, sometimes we do want to get involved, but we need to feel comfortable. As we're there, as we go to the school, we need to feel comfortable. As we worked at the shelter, we actually lived at the shelter, I think almost 2 years. And we had no kids, so it was a boot camp. It was a boot camp. I had never taken a shower to a little baby. So when my wife grabbed that baby, I remember the first time it was like, and then the lady that worked there, she was like, and she just made it so easy, but it was a boot camp. And we learned the different personalities. So this is young. We got married, I was 24, my wife was 18. We got married really young. So by 19, we moved into the shelter. So we really, really learned how to deal with all the different personalities. When you have a child that you see that he's maybe a little bit timid, well, you got to dig in. You got to give him that love to break that barrier, right? Exactly. Father's Day. There was a child that his dad wasn't very nice to him, and let me tell you, we had them write a letter, and this child wrote a letter to his dad that had really done something not too good. And it's crazy the love that a child can have for the dad. And those where you realize, my goodness, it's so important. And I see there's a lot, I'm thinking, how mking dads? I'm thinking 1, 2, very little. It's 90% women here. And this happens everywhere. But this is what we want to change. right? We want more males to be involved, but we have to bring them in. We have to bring them in. We have to encourage them as they come in, to the center. We have to, guys, build a relationship. One of the things that I think is you have to build relationships with people. It all starts there. If they don't trust you, if you don't build a relationship with them, they're not going to open up. They're not going to tell you the things that are going on in the house, right? They're not going to tell you none of those things. So you have to build a relationship with them. So it's very, very important. Okay? Good. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonny. Great job. And again, I apologize. I'm going to take the liberty, before I introduce our last ELC talks, I'm going to seat the panel. And then Derek, you can go into your ELC talk, and then you can take your seat as facilitator. Billy Davis. For more than 3 decades, a positive step of Monroe County's founder and director, Billy Davis, has dedicated his life to social services, offering a voice for people that feel that they have no voice. If there's an unmet need for disadvantaged families in Key West, you can be sure that Davis is working tirelessly to fill that gap by developing the program and securing the funding for it. Mr. Davis, will you please take a seat on the stage?
Thank you.
Mark Baker is the founder of the Father and Family Council. As a father of over 40 years, Mark has a huge passion for seeing dads live up to their potential. Mark recalls a time when, and this is in quotes, "My family and I were at a restaurant. I had just done something that embarrassed my son, and he looked at me and said, 'I don't want to be like you.' That's when Mark knew something needed to change. He wanted to become a dad who was present with his kids." And over the years, Mark has continued to grow in his own fatherhood, as well as sought to encourage other dads to be role models for their children. He has the drive to change the narrative of fatherhood and in turn change the trajectory of generations to come. And if Joe and Asmani would also take their seat on the panel. Derek McGee, Sr., is an anomaly. He is an entrepreneur, a lobbyist, a pastor, a blogger, and he has a strong background in legislative initiatives on a state level, and he is a board member with the Children. Science and Religion from Florida A&M University.
Ooh.
He is married to his college sweetheart, and they are blessed with 2 children.
Good morning, everyone. Still morning. So my father was a horrible man. Very abusive, both to alcohols and to my mother. I'm the youngest of my mom's 2 kids. My dad balanced 2 households. He loved the women. And when he was around, it was toxic. There was no peace at home. I watched my mom go through major abuse at the hands of my father. So I grew up hating my dad. In 4 years of high school, I said 4 words to him. That's how deep the hate was. Then I left home. Grew up in Los Angeles, California. I moved to Tallahassee, Florida to go to FAMU. I wanted to go to a historically black college and university. I left because it was the furthest of all the schools I got into. So I was going to go across the country and create my own world. And here's the reality. You can't outrun trauma.
Come on.
Wherever I went, the trauma went. And that was the reality of it all. There were people that I met when I moved to Tallahassee who didn't know my life, didn't know my story, and I could create my own image of how life was. And because I was from California, people were impressed by that, not knowing of how tumultuous my childhood was. I used to sleep with a knife under my pillow. Initially, the knife was the hope that I would get the strength one night to use it on my dad. Later became the same night that I would pray to God would give me the strength to kill myself. Because as a young man, I felt as if it was my job to protect my mom, and I never did. And so I became very suicidal. Imagine being the first generation college student, and you're in school and you're suicidal. That was my situation. My mom chose to never leave my father. So she and I went through times of battle because why would you stay with the abuser? Why would you make us stay in this situation? As I got to college and graduated from college, my wife and I were college sweethearts, as it was mentioned. But here was the reality. My wife and I, at the time, boyfriend and girlfriend, later became engaged. We're doing well. But trauma doesn't give you a heads up when it comes back up. And I began to realize that I had unresolved issues that, if not dealt with, was going to affect my marriage. So I made my decision. I wrote my dad a letter. Ended up being 8 pages. I don't want to say everything I said in the letter, but I reminded him of things that he had done to us growing up, even some of the times he had put his hands on my mom, and I vividly remembered. My mom to date has markings on her body. I can tell you the night it happened. But I concluded that letter with these words. No matter what you've done, no matter where we are in a relationship, I forgive you. I sealed the letter and I mailed it. But I mailed it with the intention of, I'm done with you. Because here is a reality. I didn't forgive my dad for my dad. I forgave my dad for me. Now, here is where it's interesting. My father received the letter. My mother tells the story that he spent about 3 hours in the bathroom because he couldn't contemplate and fathom somebody reminding him of all that he had done and would forgive him. But ladies and gentlemen, there is power in forgiveness. Now, here is how I got to that scenario. There was a book that came out years ago by Bishop T.D. Jakes called Emotions. Chapter 5 of the book was called Finding the Fathers. In that chapter, a question was posed. And here was the question. Have you ever thought that your father is the father he saw growing up? But the reality of it all is I didn't know my paternal grandfather. So I began to investigate, and I learned that my father was the product of a rape. His father was 19, my grandmother was 14. The family knew it, but it was a deep, dark secret. Because in the black culture, we have this great phrase, whatever goes on in my house,
stays in my house.
You must know my people. And so that's what happened. No one talked about it. And so my paternal grandmother hated her own son because he reminded her of the incident and of the father. But my father grew up hating his own father. And so my great-grandmother, whom I've never met, she raised my dad as her own because the family disowned my father because he was the embarrassment. So my dad began on-the-job training as a father to his children. My dad had a lot of kids by a lot of women. And it became the struggle of the situation. When I began to learn about my dad, I began to understand him better because no one ever invested in my father's life. I was fortunate, though my dad was horrible growing up, that I had people at church and at school who invested in me, who cared for me, who pushed me and propelled me and encouraged me and go along the way. I share this with you, number one, because I'm transparent, but number two, because as you are caring for children, you never know that you may be the individual that gives them the strength to believe that tomorrow is possible. I was blessed with people who believe that. It is not easy when you go home and you don't know if you're going to eat. You don't know if the fight's going to break out. And also when you're sharing food with roaches and with mice. That was the story. But my mother also would tell her sons that you're going to college. And she would push us and encourage us, you're going to school. She believed that. She believed that to the depth of her being. And I am blessed because my mother's belief became my reality. In 2000, in December 15th of 2000, I walked across the stage in Tallahassee with my degree from FAMU. And I gave my mom the placket. I gave it to her because I wanted her to know that her labor was not in vain. But here was the reality. The man that I hated was there as well. He missed elementary, he missed middle, he missed high school graduations, but he was there for college. Because in that period of time, reconciliation was taking place. It was said earlier that in this room, it's probably 95, 98, 99% women in here. And I appreciate everything that you've done. I really do. But there are fathers who every single day they show up. Every single day they invest. And the world that we live in at times will treat dad like a babysitter and not like father. I have a 17-year-old son and 12-year-old daughter. I take my kids on their field trips growing up. I would get well, who are you? And I would say, well, I'm little Derek's dad, or I'm Tania's dad. And they would give me that awkward look like they come from a two-parent household. My kids have been blessed where they've never not awakened to two parents. They've always had something in the refrigerator. Corpus said that your blessing is your children's normal. My kids don't know struggle. So when I tell them what their dad went through growing up, they give me this awkward look. My dad and my mom now live in Tallahassee. I now help care for my parents. My dad just finished a battle with prostate cancer. My mom has lupus. You could have never told me that I would now be the power of attorney and healthcare surrogate for the man that I once hated the most. My dad was a horrible father. But through forgiveness, I'm able to see that he is an awesome grandfather. And now, because my dad and I have a relationship, I can say this to you. I'm actually glad that he was dysfunctional. Because if he had been any better, I may not be here. I was able to overcome great tragedy because of that. But my father realizes that God has blessed him with more years on the earth. And so he's spending time now telling us and sharing with us and encouraging us. And I want to lead us here to go into our fatherhood panel, is that whenever you see fathers fighting to be in their children's lives, encourage it, applaud them, celebrate them, because every father did not vacate the premises. The culture that we live in at times makes it hard. And there are some dads who have checked out, but there are some of us, we are there, and we're actively engaged, and it's challenging, but I am who I am. And I am where I am because of the shoulders that I stand on. But you never know that you may literally be the voice of encouragement and of empowerment that that child needs on that day. Every child can become something if one person believes in that child. Bless you all.